Welcome to Intersect, where church meets culture. My name is Josh Desch, and I am the lead pastor at Northeast Presbyterian Church in Columbia, South Carolina. And I am joined, as always, by my courageous wife, Betsy.
Courageous. Thank you.
Absolutely. You are courageous, my love, in so many different ways. And Betsy, you and I talked about how we might need a little courage to get into this topic for today.
Maybe a little. Maybe a little.
Here's the title of today's episode. How much would you pay for your cat's kidney? How much would you pay for your cat's kidney? That title will make sense as we get into the episode, but we want to talk about animals, specifically pets today.
Yes.
Christians and pets in America, all the things. Betsy, first of all, we want to jump into this topic by saying we are not against pets in any way. In fact, we have 3 pets. Tell the audience about our pets.
Yes, we do. We have 3 pets. Our dog is named Boo. He's a King Charles Cavalier Spaniel. He is 6.
Yeah.
Very quirky.
Yep. Bit of a strange fellow.
Yeah.
But nice.
A bit erratic. But he loves a good leather couch, like any self-respecting dog. And then we also do have 2 cats, Leo and Siggy. They got their names from the movie What About Bob?
Yes.
Which we should do a separate episode on someday.
Maybe a series. Yep.
Yeah. They are delightful cats. Very, very friendly. Don't really know a stranger.
Yeah.
Very funny, as cats tend to be.
Yep.
They keep us laughing. They're both a little bit on the plump side. And incidentally, they were given to us by a dear friend from Northeast Presbyterian. And so we like to say that they were raised in the faith. In fact, they were catechized from a young age. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yes, they were. They were raised in the faith.
Raised in the faith.
Covenant cats. Okay, we got to stop. Now, Bets, we are approaching this topic. So we are not anti-pet, anti-animal at all.
We love our pets.
We love our pets. They're great pets. However, we want to get into what has happened in America and to a degree around the whole world regarding pets in the last few years, in the last few decades. So one thing that has gotten a good amount of media attention is there was an article in the New York Times and by Sam Apple.
It was last month.
Last month, and here is the title of this article: "My GoldenDoodle spent a week at some luxury dog hotels. I tagged along." Again, that's Sam Apple. Now, you know that an article is trending on the New York Times when they pick that article to be read aloud for their Sunday read on the podcast, The Daily. So you can actually listen to this article read by a professional audio guy. It was posted on March 24th.
Of this
Did I
year.
get that right?
Yep. March 24th.
So I would encourage our audience to go listen to this article. It's really entertaining. So what this guy did is he went to luxury dog hotels. In case you didn't know, that's a thing.
With his GoldenDoodle named Steve.
Steve, yes.
So Sam Apple took his dog Steve to a few different luxury dog hotels in the Mid-Atlantic region, and he actually took a sleeping bag with him so he could experience the accommodations like a dog.
Yeah. So these are not human hotels that your dog can stay at.
No.
Like the Hilton.
That's right.
Or the Marriott or something like that.
These are dog hotels that I guess your human could stay at.
Yes. Which in the past, when you went on vacation, your dog stayed in a
kennel.
In a kennel.
Right.
In a kennel. So a luxury dog hotel is an upgraded kennel.
Yes.
And
very funny.
Apparently, so this is a thing, folks. These are out there. But what the article is so fascinating is it gets into how pet accommodations have changed. So, for example, there's a San Francisco restaurant that serves canines a $75 tasting menu. And more restaurants now offer options. They offer dog menus.
Yes.
So a person comes into the restaurant, you get your menu, and then they say, "Here you are, sir," and they give you a menu for your dog.
Yeah. One interesting thing the author brought up was that he's seeing, this was just his, anecdotal experience. He's seeing more and more things pop up where dogs accompany their humans.
Yes.
That's right. To restaurants, there are dog bakeries, there are dog ice cream parlors. There are, dog Halloween costumes or dog Valentine's Day gifts.
Yep.
Yeah.
So total spending on pets in the U.S. now at 137 billion. That to me is one of those, like, I don't know what that number means because it's just a big number. But one number that does speak to me is Americans now spend more than $500 million a year on pet Halloween costumes alone.
That's
that's a lot of money for like Superman and other pet Halloween costumes.
And I will say, our dog Boo, he has a cowboy costume. We bought it for him.
That he hates.
He hates it. We bought it for him when he was a puppy.
Okay.
I don't think he ever wore it successfully.
No,
we are part of that figure because our dog does have a costume.
We've contributed to the $500 million
yes.
dollar industry. So what Sam Apple does is he gets into this. He examines how do we explain this trend? What does it say about our country, about how we view animals? Interesting thing that the article points out is, a lot of us have heard that there is a link between owning animals and human well-being, but actually it's not super clear. And in fact, the evidence seems to kind of be a wash as to whether or not pets really make you happier or not.
Right.
Not that that's why people get pets. But really interesting as Sam, Apple, and Steve did all of these travels together and what it says about America.
Yeah, it is. It's a very interesting article, and I would encourage anyone to go to the Daily Podcast and listen to that. Again, it's on March 24th.
Yep. So let's share, Bets. Let's share a couple other things that got us interested in this topic. There was another article that we found from last year. This trended for a little bit, and the title of this one is "More Than Half of Americans Believe Their Pet is Their Soulmate," new survey says.
Yeah.
You can look this up. It's a Yahoo.com article, but there was a big survey that was run by Zesty Paws in honor of National Pet Month. I always trust Zesty Paws. If they tell me something, I believe it. And it revealed that 53% of Americans think their pet knows them better than anyone else in their life, including their best friends, family members, and significant others. This may be because respondents feel like they can confide in their pets. Nearly half of survey participants say they tell their deepest secrets to their animal. Additionally, 72% of respondents tell their four-legged friends exactly what they're feeling at any point in time, which contributes to their deep bond.
Now, some of that makes me say, who exactly did Zesty Paws survey?
Yes.
Because if you're in a small group of people who really, really, really love pets, then you're going to get a result that may be, a little bit more skewed. But the point is, there's a large number of people who feel this way.
Yeah, there's a large number of people. And I think it's probably fair to say that if you did this same exact survey 100 years ago, 53% of people would not say that their pet knows them as well as anyone else in life.
Probably not.
So what was really interesting is, and then this takes us to the main article that we got the title of this show from, which is "How Much Would You Pay to Save Your Cat's Life?" And that was written actually way back in 2022. And that whole article is about the cat kidney transplant industry, that you can pay $15,000 for your cat to get a kidney transplant. And there's a number of veterinary hospitals that do this. There's 3 or 4 around the country. And so $15,000 for a kidney transplant for your cat pets. How does that hit you? How does that strike you when you hear that?
Well, right off the bat, it sounds like a whole lot of money.
Yep.
And again, we're pet owners ourselves. We also have 4 kids. And so, our financial commitments to our pets are not as, we're not able to devote as much of our resources to our pets. But there are certainly people who just absolutely love their pets. They can't think of, losing their pet at a young age or whatever it may be. And I do think that, we're going to get into this article, but I think that the author brings up a great point that, the way that we spend our money is so relative.
Yes.
What is valuable to one person is not valuable to another person. And what is valuable to that same person is not valuable to a third person.
Sure. So what the author did, Sarah Zhang, she went and she spoke to a number of people who have paid this $15,000 for their cat to get a kidney transplant. And those people have had to defend that decision, to all kinds of people.
Right.
And, one person's comment was, well, person A over here buys a $50,000 car. What if I want to buy a $35,000 car and then I want to spend the other 15 on my cat? Who are you to judge me about getting my cat a kidney transplant?
Right.
So this is a great, very interesting read. One of the things that she shows in the article, Bets, is that when veterinary medicine started, all vet schools, including the University of Georgia's veterinary school, which is the one that's primarily featured in the article, all vet schools, and I quote here from the article, were focused on training students to care for farm animals. Its large animal department of UGA still sees livestock. But when I was there, I being the author, visiting the UGA vet school, a pig was having surgery and a foal was getting an MRI. But over the decades, vet schools have shifted their focus to small animals, AKA pets. So if you went back 100 years ago in time, veterinary medicine would have been focused primarily on farm animals.
Sure.
Horses, cows, animals a part of farm life, not so much pets, dogs, cats, other animals that people have. And it's really amazing. People have every kind of pet now. Have you seen this?
Yes, especially on your Instagram.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
I admit, I see I like to watch the crazy. People have raccoons. I've seen raccoons. No, I'm serious. I've seen raccoons.
Yep.
I have seen, rabbits is not necessarily a new thing.
Right.
But I have seen rabbits, every kind of bird, obviously, every kind of snake.
Primates.
Oh, monkeys. Lots of monkeys out there for pets. Yeah, you name it. People have those animals as their pets.
You should talk about your favorite.
Yeah.
Is it a monkey?
Ching Ching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have this one that I like to follow. He's a monkey, and I guess that he was in an accident or something because he only has one front arm. So he only has one arm. So he's a one-armed monkey, and he lives with an elderly lady in China. And I just love.
You love his adventures.
I love his adventures. I have no idea who's posting this on Instagram, but whatever they're doing, it's working. So people have all kinds of pets, Betsy, but that's changed over the years. There's been a shift from farm animals to pets, to smaller, to animals that don't directly economically contribute to a family or society.
And you can see even the shift from pet owner to pet parent.
Yes.
If I take our dog to the vet,
Yep.
they all call me mom.
They all call you mom.
Right. And some people are okay with that. It kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you're not
his
liking
mom
that.
is really a dog.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know what I am exactly.
Yeah.
You're
his caretaker.
I'm his benevolent caretaker.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't see myself as a pet
but
mom.
it's true.
I know some people like that
If
title.
you go to the vet, they will call you.
They do call me mom.
Mom or dad.
It's like going to the
I think-
pediatrician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Interesting.
For me personally, that title doesn't really do it for me, but I know a lot of people are good with that.
So here's what one veterinary doctor says about cats, because this is about $15,000 kidney transplant for your cats. Cats in particular have been beneficiaries of this evolution in veterinary medicine. When I was growing up, this is what a vet says. Why would you take your cat to the vet? If your cat gets sick, you get another cat, says Drew Wiegner, a veterinarian and former president of the nonprofit Every Cat Health Foundation. Cats lived outside. They came and went, even in the late 1980s when he opened a practice specializing in cats in Atlanta. The idea struck others as hilarious and crazy. But by then, cats were coming indoors. That physical closeness turned to emotional closeness. So even for cat, we see with cats how we see changes in how people had cats over the years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
So this article, we're going to jump right into the main character, Banco. Banco the cat. Betsy, tell us about Banco. He lives in Austin, Texas. Tell us about Banco. His owners are Cassie and Taylor. He's kind of the featured cat of this article.
Yes, Banco is, like you said, he's kind of the star of the article. So the author says this: in the spring of 2019, when Banco was about 8 years old, a vet at a routine checkup noticed that his kidneys felt swollen. So they started doing some diagnostic tests and such, and that revealed that he had a polycystic kidney disease. And so there was nothing that could, heal his kidneys.
Sure.
He would not live for long. He would not live for a long time. And there was nothing that could be done with the exception of a kidney transplant. And so then Cassie, who's Banco's owner, as you said, went to another vet, got some more information, got a second opinion, and learned what would be involved in getting that cat transplant, because it's not only the surgery.
Yes.
It's also a lot of follow-ups, and it's also drugs. The article says he needed immunosuppressants twice a day, every day for the rest of his life. Yeah.
So if your cat gets this cat transplant, it's not just the surgery. They then need immunosuppressants twice a day, every day, the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. They can never miss that.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So ultimately, Cassie and her husband Taylor did decide to go forward with the transplant because Banco was such a special cat to them, mm-hmm. and they had such a wonderful connection with him. So they did decide to go forward with the transplant for Banco, and it was successful. Mm-hmm. He came through the surgery well and seemed to be flourishing. I think he did become ill again at a later point.
Yes. And I don't think it was that many years later.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That he didn't make it.
Right.
One of the things, when you think about this kind of decision, this is from the article, and it says, and I quote, "The median survival time for cats that get kidney transplants is about 2 years." Mm-hmm. So really, you're paying $15,000 for another 2 years for your cat's life. Mm-hmm. Every now and then a cat will go longer than that, but the average extra span of life is 2 years.
Yeah, so it brings up a lot of interesting ethical things that we as pet owners and animal lovers really do have to wrestle with, because you do have to wrestle with, how do I provide care that helps this animal, that, eases their suffering, that, do I provide the care to prolong their life? Would that be more painful for them? There are a lot of ethical issues that are raised when you start thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, there are. Some of them. This show is Intersect, where church meets culture. There's of course the stewardship question for Christians. We live in a society that says spend your money however you want, any way you want. Nobody should judge you.
Right.
But we would certainly not take that approach. We would say the way we use our money should not totally be an individualistic choice. Mm-hmm. We should be informed by others. We should be informed by God's word. So this raises a lot of issues around our relationship, I would say, to animals more broadly. Mm-hmm. Now, a couple of things I want to get into here. One is how do Christians avoid the extremes on both sides? Because on the one hand, you have people that can elevate animals and pets particularly to a status that I would say is not in accord with what God wants. We can elevate animals to a status of really being equivalent to God's image bearers. And I don't think that's good for us. I don't think that's good for the world. I don't think that's good for animals. And I don't think that's what God wants for us. But on the other hand, there's creation care. We're responsible for animals. God gave us dominion. Go back to Genesis chapter 1. But then there's creation neglect. We do know that lots of animals are mistreated, abused,
right,
monetized, exploited, factory farming, all that. So here we are as Christians, and we're trying to get a good, strike the right balance there. We're trying to honor God. But then getting into some other issues here. There's the issue of loneliness. And that's actually one thing that the author of the Golden Doodle article, My Golden Doodle Spent a Week at Some Luxury Dog Hotels, he really got into the issue of loneliness and how there's an interesting rise in loneliness that happens to correspond with people's increased focus on their pets. And he even admitted, I thought he was really transparent in the article. Sam Apple said, look, I am single. I live at home with Steve and I do all my work from home. So he's kind of saying, I fit this category of a person that doesn't get as much human contact as I used to get at other points in my life. So there's the loneliness dimension. There's the reality that people, at least for Christians, people should matter more than animals. That doesn't mean animals don't matter. That doesn't mean we shouldn't care for animals, but people matter more than animals. And then there's this reality: pets are easier to deal with than people.
Right.
At least most of the time.
Yeah.
All right. 99.9% of the time, a pet is easier to deal with than a person.
Yeah, from the article, there was a great line where a guy, again, was talking about why he decided, this was a different guy who decided to go forward with the cat.
Yeah, this is a
kidney
guy who
transplant.
he's an archaeologist in Buffalo, New York.
Right.
Yep.
Yes, and he said he used the money he and his wife had put away for a down payment to pay for his cat's kidney transplant. Okie. Such a cute name.
That's a cute name.
And he said, this is a quote from the article. He said that the bond he felt with Okie was as intense as the bond he felt with humans, if not more so. And this is quoting this man. There is no inherent badness in the soul of a cat or a dog, he said. Their soul will never be mean or treacherous. They will not hurt you. And then the author quotes a psychologist named John Archer, who writes that pets provide people with the type of unconditional, adoring relationship that has eluded them, and indeed most of us, when other human beings are involved. So it does bring up the issue that a pet, I mean, you've talked about this with Boo. Boo's going to sit by, well, actually, he's so quirky, he won't really sit by people on the couch, but another dog would.
Normal dog.
Yeah, another dog would. That he will sit by you at the end of the day when you come home, you've had a hard day. You know, your dog is there to.
Sure.
Your dog doesn't care if something went wrong or if if you hurt someone. Like, they don't know all that. They just think you're great.
Yeah.
They love you.
Yeah. And hey, that's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not.
But we have to ask, are things kind of swinging out of balance a little bit? So another owner who I presume got a kidney transplant for his cat, he said this online when he was being criticized, or at least he said it to the author of this article. He said, "You go buy your cars and trips. I'm going to save my best friend in the world." So that's one perspective.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys want to spend your money on other things. I want to do it to save my best friend in the whole world.
Yeah, and some of those people brought up, would you judge someone the same way who bought an expensive diamond necklace or a pair of earrings?
Sure.
Would you judge them the same way as, hey, I want to put all this money into a cat? Now, you could say to that person, you could say, well, an expensive necklace or a pair of earrings, like that will last.
Sure.
Your cat is still going to die
Yes.
soon.
Yes.
So, I mean.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's pull the lens back a little bit again about the state of veterinary medicine. And again, from the article on cats and kidney transplants, and I quote, veterinarians too often find themselves struggling with how far to go with an ailing patient. In a recent study, 98.5% of the nearly 500 veterinarians in the U.S. who participated said pet owners had asked them to provide fetal care for their dying animals. So basically, every veterinarian, 98.5%, said that there have been times in their practice where they said to a pet owner, there's nothing I can do to prolong your pet's life. And people have said, we don't care. We need you to provide this care anyway. I mean, it's sad.
It is. It's very sad.
It's sad,
and
but it's also telling.
We have, like I said, our pets are still relatively young, so we have not been faced with the difficult decisions that that you get to when they're a little bit older and maybe have developed some health issues, and you have to decide how to navigate that. I'm sure it's very difficult.
Yeah. And then what it said about being a veterinarian was super disturbing. Veterinarians are under crazy pressure, higher suicide rate among vets than other fields, just feel overwhelmed. suicide rate is twice that of the general population for males. So anyway, just the pressure you felt for the vets who are trying to care for people's animals. And you think about it, most people don't have pet insurance. We don't have pet insurance. It's not like somebody who shows up at the hospital and, hey, doesn't matter if they have insurance or not, they're going to get treated. Not the same way with animals.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Bets, how do we think about this topic as Christians? Should we be different? How should we be different? Talk to me here. What are your thoughts?
Well, as you already alluded to, back in the beginning, God gave us the care of animals as our responsibility. All of creation, the care of every part of nature. And so we do have a job to treat our animals with care, with dignity that they deserve, which is why we as Christians should stand against practices like factory farming and in ways that animals are exploited and abused. And that's hard because that hits you in the wallet. Sure. And that hits you in maybe needing to do some research to figure out if animals have been treated ethically, that, instead of just going in and buying whatever food you may buy. Yep. And that's a lot easier.
And there is a certain strand of Christianity that sort of says the PETA people, the animal rights people are crazy. And they're just kind of a big joke. There is a strand of Christianity, I think, that has, and I'm not saying that sometimes they're not crazy. Sure. With what they're wanting for animals but I know I kind of grew up around some of that. I don't know if you did. And I think it speaks to a mindset that says, really, because we have dominion over animals, we can do whatever we want to animals.
And that is clearly not scriptural. So we do have the obligation to care for them in a way that's pleasing to God. But as you said, we can go so far in the opposite direction where we're investing so much into our pets that maybe, expecting something from a pet relationship that really you need to get from a human relationship.
Yeah.
Because as these folks said, who decided to get the transplant, animal relationships are much more simple. Right? They're
and we can see the appeal of those.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a wonderful place for them. Their pets are unconditionally loving, and at least the good ones are. You don't have the same difficulty, and let's just talk about kids. Your pet is way easier than your kids. Sure. Right? Sure. Now we still crate our dog at night. And that's fine. You can put your dog in a crate and close the door. You can't put your child in a.
You better not.
Yeah. So there's so much about a pet relationship that's much more simple.
Betsy, you and I were talking about this as we were getting ready for the episode. Tell our audience what DINKs are. That's an acronym, DINKS. DINKs. What are DINKs?
Yes. So DINK, if you've not heard of this acronym, it refers to double income, no kids. And so the way I've seen it used, particularly on social media, is usually younger couples who are either together or they're married, but they don't have kids. They're both working. So
they're usually both very successful. They're usually successful people.
It seems that way. Yeah. And these are people who have said, we have disposable income that we get to use on other things because we don't have children. Now, they very well may be pet owners and love their pets very well. And again, a pet is just, it's a level of responsibility, obviously, but it's much easier than children. So these are people who may say, hey, we have chosen to either not have children or maybe just not have children at this time, and we're enjoying the freedom that gives us.
Yeah. Now, this opens up a huge can of worms here. Okay.
Big one.
And I'll just say this. I get that some people cannot have kids. Okay. If you biologically cannot have kids, I would never say to someone, you have an obligation to adopt. I would not say that to a Christian. I would say to a Christian, you might that's something you might really want to pray on, really want to pray on adoption or foster care or something. But I don't believe it's a Christian's obligation to have kids. But I will say this, and I would go on the record with this one. If you are able to have children and you do not have a circumstance such as health, there could be health conditions as well. So there could be infertility. There could be health conditions. And I've also heard about some people who say, for example, we're going to go to the mission field and our lives could be in danger. Now, this one is not as common, I don't think, as it used to be. But maybe some missionaries would say, we don't want to leave orphans behind. But the way that we're seeing most dinks today, Betsy, I don't think they fit those categories.
Sure.
These are people who could have children and are basically saying, we don't want the responsibility of having children, so we're going to opt out of that.
Or at least not in our younger years.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
some people still are choosing to have children, but are starting that journey later.
Yeah,
you know,
which we can understand
into
that.
30s or even young 40s.
Yep,
So.
yep. That one's not so, black and white on that, on
Sure.
when you start your family. And how many kids you want to have is obviously, the Bible doesn't provide any guidance there.
I think, though, if you look at the comment sections of some of these videos, y'all know on social media, there's this trend that says, we're such and such. We don't, I wish I could give you an example, but I've seen videos by dinks. We're dinks. We love to sleep in on the weekends because we can. We're dinks.
Yeah.
We love to go off on a whim because there's no reason we can't. I'm guessing that a lot of people
I've
know
seen
what
a
I'm
few of
talking
these.
about.
We're dinks. We max out our IRAs and our 401ks every year.
Well, and those kind of videos are made by anyone. We're cat owners. We, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, if you look at the comments section, that's where I was trying to go. If you look at the comments section on some of these videos, man, oh man, they get lit up by people saying, either saying this is their right, they can choose to live their life however they want. Then there's the people who say, one day you're going to regret the fact that you didn't have children. I'm telling you, this is a hot topic.
Yeah. People get into it.
Yes, very much so.
People get into this one.
Yes.
Folks,
very much so.
we actually want to hear from you on this topic on our Intersect Facebook group page. And you can find us on Facebook if you just do Intersect Podcast. You'll find us, click on it, join our group. We have over 300 people on the group. Usually we just post new episode information. We usually don't ask for feedback, but we would love to hear from our audience. What do you think about this? What is a Christian approach to animals and pets and all of this? How should our faith affect our relationship with animals? Are there other things we haven't thought about? Are there other points that people would like to bring up? We'd love to hear what our audience thinks. But I certainly, and just answer this question. Would you pay for $15K for your cat to get a kidney transplant?
Well, and to be fair, I do want to say a lot of people don't like cats. So fine, say your dog.
Say your dog.
Because
would you
you'd
pay
be like,
$15K?
Never in my life would I pay that much for a cat. Well, fine.
Fair enough.
Then say it for your dog.
Or whatever your animal is. Would you pay that for your parrot? Would you pay that for your horse or whatever?
Right.
But I've got to say, like every area of life, our faith should inform the ways that we relate to and care for animals, the way we think about pet ownership, the way we think about human relationships. If you're somebody who maybe you avoid human relationships because pet relationships were easier, I would say, hey, that's something God wants you to step out in. And I would say as believers, we want to reach out to people who are lonely.
Absolutely.
Like that's our job, right? To draw people out into community, the community that God wants them to experience in a world that says to them, you can just retreat to an online life and have a couple pets at home who will never make you feel bad.
That's right.
Bets found a wonderful quote. I wanted to end with this. I do believe there will be animals in heaven. I believe that 100%. And it depends on how literal you take certain Bible passages, like the lion lying down with the lamb.
Well, it makes sense. God made them.
Yeah.
For his own joy. There's no other reason.
That's right. Why would there not be animals in the new heavens and the new earth? But George Whitefield, the great preacher, Anglican preacher from the First Great Awakening, Tim Keller, and I couldn't find the Whitefield sermon that this is from, but Tim Keller says this in one of Tim's sermons. Tim Keller says that George Whitefield used to say in his sermons, and I quote, "Do you know when you get near animals, why they bark at you and growl at you and scream at you and then run away? Because they know you have a quarrel with their master." So this idea that animals and humans, there is some conflict in that relationship, and it's that animals know instinctively that humans are sinful and that we don't always treat them the way that we should.
Interesting.
So that's good. Yeah. All right, Betsy, you got anything else for us?
I don't think. It's a lot to think about. Good stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Intersect audience, we'd love to hear from you online. Thanks again for joining us. And we hope that we have informed you and given you things to think about from a Christian perspective. We'll see you next time.